With any big project like a bathroom refurbishment, there's the potential for scope creep. When your project spills over, we'll start sprouting little side projects. This was definitely true for the heating pipe piggyback solution that connected the old towel warmer with the radiator on the other side of the wall. In order to continue with this bathroom, I had to fix that radiator, even though it was in another room. It was the proper thing to do anyway, because that radiator was way too small to heat the bedroom it was in. So I put down some towels to soak up any spills and then lifted the old piece of junk right off its wall brackets. The next step was to unscrew and loosen all the pipe fittings, to disconnect the radiator and then carry it out and add it to the ever-growing pile of rubbish in front of my garage, waiting to go into the next skip. There's something that gets on my nerves endlessly in this house. The eagerness of the previous owners to bang a hole into whatever wall they could find. It's just infuriating almost, because now all of these need to be closed again. And while I'm at it, I might give that a quick lick of paint as well. Now let's get these wall brackets out, because they don't have the right measurements for the new radiator. Back on the other side of the wall, it's time to strip out the plywood support for the radiator, which of course have been nailed in rather than screwed in. These batten strips or furring strips, whatever you call them, they will have to come out because they're not no longer serving any purpose. Hammer's not good. Crowbar's better. See what I mean? Bloody hell with the nailing business. God, I'm amateurs. Right, back to doing a bit of plumbing. Get these tees off the pipe ends. They're just push fit, by the looks of it. No, actually they're compression. Can I pull these off? Probably not, and pretty grimy. So I think I'll just cap that one off right there. Same for this guy, because that looks pretty stuck. Otherwise, I can't move that. Alright, that's one. And two. One. Two olives. And here. Let's see where we are with this. So this is my reference stud, and then from there 122 centimeters. That should be enough for me to safely anchor my radiator brackets, and of course I have to measure from the middle of my stud, or near enough to the middle. And that works. That's excellent. Now of course I don't know exactly how high this radiator needs to sit, so I just had a quick eye measurement. So because my pipes are still going to come through about this height here, and this is where they're going to feed into my radiator, that's about my reference height there. So they're going to come out there. So my lower end will sit here. This is where my pipe's gonna, and my radiator's gonna go. That's where I'll start rolling this up. It's 51 centimeters high. So 51 centimeters. That is going to bring me up to, that's going to bring me up to about here. Alright, that's my reference. Now these brackets, would sit like that. There's the screw hole, which means 16.5 centimeters from the top edge of the radiator. So that's it, 65.5 up from the floor. 65.5 minus 16.5. That should be 49. So upper screw hole for my bracket is 49. So I can put that in there. 49. So that will be about here. 49. Let's say I'm going to put my screw hole right here. So that's where my upper screw hole is going to go, and the lower one somewhere in there. Just going to get a spirit level, make sure that is all plumb. That's sitting plumb. Circle, circle. Just make sure. Measure that again. 122. Okay. Of course I know it's plumb, but I didn't check whether it's level. If it isn't, that would be pretty. That would suck. And that is level. Cool. Now before I actually put real life screws through these, I'm going to draw the pilot hole to see whether it pokes out somewhere to the left or to the right of my stud. If that's not the case, I've hit the stud, and then I can actually get these brackets here fitted for real. 3 millimeters. There's no light at the other end, so that seems good. Yeah, definitely some resistance there. So I'll go over in a moment, take a look and see if there's any new screw holes. Definitely resistance there. Right, time to go check. Now this is where the old holes were, and the new one will be sitting somewhere above it, and I can't see it. So I think I had paid that. That's one side, let's check the other. It's this stud here. So if I had missed that stud, there would be new holes here, and there aren't. So it looks like I'm good. Now the radiator came with this pack of little fittings and screws and wall anchors and all that. and these screws are quite hefty, so with those small little pilot holes that I've just drilled to see that I didn't miss the studs, they're not enough of these really thick screws, and just banging them in like this would very likely split the wood on the other side. So I used a 4mm screw bit to pre-drill some holes, and then this should still give this screw here enough to, like, for the thread to cut in and hold on to that wood on the other side. Now I'm going to put these, like so. Alright then. Nice and solid. Now the other one. And now, for the proof. Let's see if I put this in correctly. Alright. So that is what that looks like. At this stage I have already closed the holes in the wall, and I'm now taking the opportunity to put down some newspaper and give that wall a lick of paint to get rid of that hideous mint green colour shining through. At this stage I am back to working on the radiator proper and preparing fittings to connect it with the pipework. Lightly scoring the fitting thread is supposed to keep the PTFE tape in place in the thread. This tape is supposed to make the thread waterproof. I have followed the instructions of the radiator manufacturer doing this, rather against my better judgment, as the correct way to seal the thread is using either hemp or Loctite thread yarn. This mistake would come back and bite me later. Of course, at the time of editing this footage is half a year old and the heating has been on for months at this stage, so I'm fairly confident that there is no more leaks. Now the fitting I'm going to use to bring the pipe connection here running behind the radiator is a bit of an unusual one. It's female to male. The reason I had to do this is because the ordinary elbow that has compression fittings on both sides is too big, and this is about as much clearance as I have between the wall and the radiator. So I'll try and make this work. If it doesn't, then I'll have to get those mounting brackets back off the wall and probably put some pieces of wood as spacers between them and the wall to give me a little bit more clearance to be able to fit normal compression fittings here. So what could go wrong? What could go wrong is I have to make the seal in the thread, and if that fails, then this fitting, which was I think about €7 or €8, I don't know, that this sort of fitting is no good, and I have to go with normal compression fittings, which again will require the spaces between the mounting brackets and the wall. So let's see how I get on. I'm not sure how much to use or hope this is enough. Unfortunately I can't test this right away, but I have to wait until I have this bit on here and then a pipe between this fitting and the one I'm going to put on the other side, a continuous pipe. So I can fill this radiator with water, open the valve here, which would also flood this bit of pipe, and then I'd know if these fittings hold water or not. I don't want to tighten this all the way. I don't think I have another full round in it. I do. No. Yeah. That should be tight enough. If this isn't going to hold the water, then nothing will. Man, I hope this works. So I've propped this radiator up again to make sure that the fitting here and this pipe are all flooded. And now I'm going to let this sit again for 30 to 45 minutes to be able to identify any slow leaks or seepages. Now it's been an hour and the fittings have stayed dry. There's nothing, so that's good. Whether it's going to remain the same with hot water under 2 bars of pressure, that'll remain to be seen, but for now, in the lab conditions, this is holding up. So I move on. It's time to put some holes in the wall. So the plan is to replace these stop ends with 90-degree elbows, compression fittings on both sides, and get the pipe through this wall here to the other side, where again it'll connect to the pipes that are already attached to the radiator with another set of 90-degree elbows. So I would have to aim the hole slightly above where the stop ends currently are. Alright, looking good. I'm going to put up the radiator on the other side and then poke a Sharpie through there and mark where the pipes would come out through the wall, and that should give me then the markers where I need to cut the pipe. Oh. Now before I cut that pipe, I'm going to make 2 pieces out of this one. Put the elbow fittings on here already, and then I'm going to cut that and fit the elbows in there. So the radiator is up on the other side of the wall. These are my newly attached bits of pipe sticking out. And what's left to do now is I need to cut them to the size that I need or want. Fit 2 more 90-degree elbows on here, and then the radiator is connected to the hot water loop, and then it should theoretically work. My last 2 copper inserts. Put a nut on there. The olive go on. And the fitting. And then tighten the nut just enough for the olive to bite down onto the pipe and the copper insert, to stop it from wandering a little bit. Doesn't have to be tight at all. Olive on, fitting. Come on. Let's get those around there. Okay. Elbows. Push them down as far as it goes. Get those nuts up there. 1. Push down. Here should be alright. That's as tight as I can make it. Now hopefully that'll do the job. I guess what remains to be done now is to switch the heating back on and observe, see what happens. So here I am draining the radiator again, because of course pressure testing with 2 bar did identify another leak. Not one I've had before though. It's this guy here, the tail end that is sitting in the radiator. So my guess is that of wrapping the threads with PTFE tape wasn't enough. Update. It's been 2 days. This radiator has been connected and pressurized, and there's no leaks on either side. So that's good. 2 things left to do. One is these plastic hex pipes in the light brown are pretty unsightly, so they have to be covered up using these so-called rad snaps. So I pushed it all the way against this this nut here. That pipe all but disappears. And the other leftover bit to do is to close the side off with the this panel here. It came included in the package with the radiator, and it just snaps into place like so. Closes off this side here, and there we go. That's it. Finished. So this particular prerequisite Sideshow is now completed as well. I'm going to move on to the wiring.